Okay guys, good afternoon. I'm really happy to have you here today. And we are having a guest lecture. Christian, he helps startups build sales processes and his field is B2B sales. So it's a really topic that's related to your ideas and to your teamwork. So I hope that you will enjoy that. And Christian is a really interesting person. So I hope that you will enjoy as well his story, which is quite interesting. And as always, feel free to ask as many questions as you like. Yes?
So is that a question on the final? Is it going to be written or multiple choice?
I tell you in the end.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Okay, thanks again. So, welcome. How to start? You know, maybe we start what we met some time ago with Michal, and we agreed that there are topics that we share together. But he didn't know, before today, he didn't know how bad student I was. So if he would know, he may not allow me here, but now it's too late. Now you have to go through. So let me first give you a context of today's topics. Actually, the name of today's session was Entrepreneur's Mindset. And yesterday when I saw Michal's post on Facebook, I realized that it's called B2B Sales. So I prepared a wrong presentation, but then I realized actually entrepreneur mindset and sales, it has many things to do. So I will try to give you a mix, part of my story, experience, because I thought this could be more fruitful for you than to share something what you can find in the books. And what Michal also said, that you will have a lot of questions. So I'm really curious. Don't hesitate to raise your hand at any time, because when I start to talk, I talk a lot. So anytime when you see something that you would like to go deeper into details, just raise your hand, and I hope we will have enough time at the end to go through all the questions. So my experience is 14 years in sales, 8 years in management, and right now, as Michal said, I focus mainly on startups, and I support them in different ways, as a mentor in accelerators, as a consultant, and also as an interim manager. So I usually do 1 or 2 big projects where I am part of the management team. So anyway, let me first start shortly with my story, not because I would like to talk about myself or that I would think it's so interesting, but it has something to do with business and entrepreneurship. I was born in Croatia, and my first 2 years I was traveling from Croatia to Czech Republic and back. My parents divorced. My father is Croatian. My mother was Czech. This is not my father. This is my grandfather. And usually in this time, kids enjoy parents and the time with people. Everybody adores them, and I was not different in this, but also I was not sure if I will stay in Czech Republic or in Croatia. So, and there were a lot of talks among parents and grandparents. So I was actually observing behavior of people, and I didn't know if it has any meaning for the future. So I had a nice childhood. I was raised mainly by my grandparents, who were well-educated, 2 doctors, pathologists and pediatrists, so really interesting. And I had normal childhood with them. And I was mostly under influence of my grandmother, so I had to learn a lot. Until maybe my 15th year, I had just A's in the school. Only A's, so I was one of the best in the class. But what I didn't like about that is that I was not favorite kid. I was a silent kid. I felt expendable. I didn't feel part of the class because, the guys, they wanted to sit with me only when there was a test because they would copy what I wrote. So I thought, okay, so I'm not favorite, but maybe I could do sport. So I started cycling, and I really like this picture because this is me. And it was a really intensive time of my life. It was 3 years. And you know, when I look at this picture, it's interesting when I now think about how these guys, how they ended up or how they continued. Because at this time, all of us were 100% dedicated to the sport. We did like 4 hours a day cycling. Nothing else existed than this. And you know, some of them just do ordinary jobs. Some of them still are somehow average riders. Some of them turned to drugs. One of the guys, unfortunately, destroyed his health because he was really so tough that his heart did not sustain it. So and only one guy really succeeded. Guess which one is it? Anyone? Not me. This picture is 30 kilograms ago, so it's not me. It was the smallest one here. It's Roman Kreuziger, and now he's top class rider in the world. He was, I don't know, 3rd in Tour de France or 5th, something like that. Yeah, he was like 13 years old in this picture. So anyway, I always had a problem with weight. So as you can see, I am very thin here, but I was still quite strong against the competition. I didn't learn much from this. Only that, you know, when you have a discipline, you can make improvement, but it was everything. The lesson I learned is, you know, I have chosen a bad sport, I should choose something else. So I started to do more things at the same time. I started fighting, I started this, you know, I would not call it singing, but shouting in the band. It was also, you know, till my 18, I didn't touch a beer or cigarette, so also I had to, you know, put the weight on it, so I partied a lot, and I did also, I worked, you know, just for a living. I did sales. And I also rode motorbike and dated girls, all these things that you do probably in your age right now, all these nice things. And I was really extreme, especially in these two, I was quite extreme, and it didn't work. And after some years, it's I would call it exploded. And this is 3rd fight in a row that I lost. And during this time, it was really difficult for me in work. I was managing sales teams in 2 countries. Also, my mother died in this time. And I remember it like today. I was sitting just like you in the class at university. And I thought like, okay, I went through some adversity, some problems, but school is the right thing. I will learn, I will finish it, and everything will be fine. So I was looking at a teacher, like you're looking at me, and suddenly I realized that I'm in Matrix. And for 3 days, I really believed that. I didn't have any hallucinosis or something like that, but I really thought like everything what I thought till that time is absolutely different. But fortunately, after 3 days, I somehow healed from this imagination. I don't know if you saw a movie, Beautiful Mind. So it was a similar process, but fortunately much faster. And then I spoke to a psychologist, and first question was, am I crazy? And he said, you know, when anybody who will experience what you experience right now would have the same. So it was just the reaction of your brain. Yeah. So, and I'm really normal right now, so it's okay. But I realized that this is really opportunity to go back in time and to start thinking what is there in it, why this happened. First, I thought it's a disaster, and then I realized it was actually the best thing that could happen to me, because it allowed me to change 2 things in my life. First, really to reflect on everything what happens and learn from what happened. So I realized that my childhood, where I was, you know, observing people's behaviors, that really I can use it in sales and business. And also that the discipline that I had to have can help. And also on the stage that I may speak in the future, there was sort of training and all of these things. But I have to learn from it. Until this time, I didn't learn everything. It just somehow happened, and I always just solved the particular problem. So let's say I didn't feel famous, and I wanted to be famous somehow. So I started a band, I did a sport. But that was wrong reason. There was no love for what I did. And many other things. So I realized I really have to observe not only other people, but also myself. And another thing I started to learn, really to learn, it's interesting that till that moment, and I spent a lot of time in school because I was a bad student, so much longer that would be healthy. At that moment, I started to first to learn. And I realized that all these experiences are connected with business and with sales. As I said, I did 14 years sales. It's 14 years now. And through this experience, I did almost 8,000 meetings. So I really met a lot of companies and closed a lot of contracts. And now we are coming to sales. One of the most important things I learned is decision-making process. Because when I started as a sales rep in TNT Express Worldwide, I was wondering, when I come to a company, why would anybody care for our product, for our services? And they really cared, but it was not that easy to sell. So I will maybe draw something about this decision-making process. Usually, when you want to sell, you will have a business, your own business. You will work for a company. You want to sell something, and so you try to reach a decision maker, or a person who cares about the product. So you meet that person, and you may think it's a decision maker. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. And if you have luck, he will nod to everything what you say. So he will say like, yes, I like your product. Let's start to cooperate. So just send me your offer and whatever. And then unexpectedly, after weeks of your hard work, he says, I'm sorry, we cannot work. And this is not his fault, this is your fault. You always have to look back on what you could do better. And the reason is that you didn't map this decision-making process. And you can do this at the very beginning of any business, any potential contract that you can make. So you can ask this guy, okay, so if I send you the offer, and the offer is interesting, what are the next steps? What is the process? And he may say, I will have to show it to my boss. Maybe he's the owner. And he needs to confirm it. And maybe when you ask, okay, and is there someone else who cares about the product? He may say, yeah, there is also a financial director, and he confirms the budget. Yeah, and maybe there's also operations guy who will use it, and maybe there's, I don't know, I spent a lot of time in logistics, so maybe there's just an ordinary guy in a warehouse, just the guy who's putting packages from one shelf to another, but he's got very strong voice because he's very good and very experienced, and actually everything depends on him. And if one of these people doesn't agree with that or doesn't like it, you don't close the deal. So it's really this decision-making structure is really important. And if you ask for this at the very beginning of the process, two things may get better. You will not waste time if you realized that nobody will like it, or you can use the time better because you will know that in next meeting you will meet with these guys, and by the way you will, take this guy for a dinner to really make a relationship with him and stuff like that. So when you make this, and let's say this is the procedure this is the sales cycle, yeah. So this is, here you start. It's, let's say, first month you start. You address the client, and here you may close the deal. If you make this properly here, you will not lose time here, and you will focus only on the clients who really are going to make a deal. So let's say you have how to measure this? It's called, you definitely know conversion rate, yeah? So if you have, let's say, if you approach 10 clients and you have conversion rate 10%, so you get 1 client at the end. So you say, okay, my target is 10 clients, so I need to visit 100 clients. So you like, I don't know how you would call it in a folk note. Inflate, yeah. You inflate your sales funnel so that you get these 10. But if you make this right, you don't have, and you increase your conversion rate from 10 to 20%, you will make the same result in much shorter time with much less effort, or with the same effort you will have much better result. So that's one of the key experiences that I made as a sales rep. Any questions to that? All clear? Okay. Then another important thing is that if you work in sales, you have to know everything about the company, at least at average level. You need to know how finances work, how operations work, how invoicing work. You have to know everything in the company, because that is part of negotiation. For example, if I don't know, there is a contract on the table and you are discussing the contract, they will ask you for they don't want 2 weeks for payment, but due date, but they want 2 months. So you negotiate about that. And you also have to know everything about the potential client, as not only decision-making structure, but how their operations work and stuff like that. So the thing that I want to tell you, that working in sales is a really good experience for business, because you really have to know everything. And at the end, I also realized that good salesperson may not be good sales manager. I was always ambitious, but when you work in corporation and you want to get to another level, you have to be extremely good, and still it may not happen. Or the guy who has this, chair above you, this position above you, he has to leave. And it did not happen in the first company. So I went to another company. I persuaded them. I got the chance and started to work as a sales manager. And there were, I would say, two key experiences. In the first company, it was a Polish company in logistics. And there was very strict hierarchy and strict processes, CRM systems, everything was in place. But the culture was not the strongest. It was not bad, but there was space for improvement. Let's call it this way. And I realized that when you manage people, when you have processes in place, especially in sales, even average salespeople can deliver results. Because I inherited a sales team. And some of the guys, I would say not even one of them was really the greatest sales guy in the world. Some of them were better, some were average, below average. But as I pushed on the process, all of them were able to deliver results at the end. The only problem with this is that I always had to be present. So when you manage people, when you direct people, you can make great results, but you have to be present all the time. And this is how that company worked, and many companies work like that. That there's a pressure. You use pressure. So, for example, when your sales guys they don't do enough sales meetings, so you say, why didn't you do enough? You have to push harder and stuff like that. So when you push on the people, they do more. When you stop pushing because you get tired, they start also. They are also tired, so they do less. And that was the time when I also had this personal crisis. That was just one consequence of this. Fortunately, another company realized me somehow. They were actually a customer of the first company, and they drafted me. And I had the luck that in this company were really some great leaders who they saw that I'm good in processes, but they also very, very quickly realized that I'm really weak in leadership. So they started to coach me, and I started to realize other things. And I will maybe tell you one example. I inherited the team. It was one guy. He was 10 years older than me, and at that time the company there were 7 people, and they had very smooth work. They were not responsible for many things. There were 2 big clients in place, and all they had to do was to deliver operations and sales, but it was actually done already. And now me and another guy from Argentina, he became a general manager for 2 years. We came, young guys, to this senior company, and we were the carriers of the message. Now we have to start to work. So of course there were changes, and I started to rebuild the team, and I got one really interesting guy joined the team. I was looking for 6 months for a sales guy, and I couldn't find him. And this guy from Britain, he came. I thought, like, I was under pressure. Everybody thought this guy is not able to find anyone. He's got so big. How we call it? He wants so much from the person that he's not able to find this guy. So I took one guy. I was not sure about him at all, but it was already time. It was already late for me to hire someone. So I got this guy, and very fast I realized that there will be problems with him. He didn't want to learn. He was very nice to everyone, but he was playing a game. He wanted to play it the way that, I'm the best, fuck the rest, but I will not do anything. I will just play, yeah? And it was really difficult time for me because I was maybe 1.5 years in the company, didn't deliver much results, and now this guy appeared. And the team didn't already think much about me. And fortunately, my leaders, my managers, they told me, okay, we see that this guy has to be fired because he will not do good, but you are also not doing good because I did not accept him, I didn't tolerate his mistakes, and I didn't treat him well. And my manager, my boss, he said, now you have an opportunity to learn, to start really learning about leadership, about managing people the right way. And this guy is your punching bag. So we will not fire him now, we will fire him 2 months later, and you will make a sparring with him. Yeah. And it was really, again, very difficult time for me, but very, very fruitful, very important, because I really realized that I'm doing many mistakes with talking to people, managing them, respecting them. And at the end, I was in a state of mind that I thought maybe we could keep this guy, and they said, no, don't forget that we have to fire him because he was really bad, and he did much worse things in another company that he joined. But sales in general, and when you lead people, salespeople, they are difficult people because sales is about persuading someone strange that you are trustful, that your company is trustful, and that they should give a lot of money to you, not to someone else, but to you. So, you have to be strong personality and be able to a lot of extraordinary things. And when you manage these people, sorry, I will just finish. It's also difficult because they will not listen to you, and they will shout, and they will do everything possible to destroy many things. Sorry. Yeah.
I would like to ask, what is now your, let's say, key or tip for us, like recommendation for us? How to show your team when you are like the boss, how to show your team, maybe new people, that you are to be taken seriously despite of your age, that you, well, for example, you are young, like you're 25,
yeah,
and you need to show that you are here and you are to be taken seriously, and it doesn't matter if you are younger than them or no, you
yeah,
are the one who...
Perfect.
How would you...
That's a great situation. Yeah, that's really a great challenge. And, first thing is that you cannot demand respect. You cannot demand it, never. You have to earn it. So you cannot expect it at the beginning. Also, when you become a manager of someone, like officially, you already have part of the respect. Yeah, because you are put in a structure, so you already somehow should be respected in a certain way and on certain level. So, you become boss of a team, you inherit a team. Is that the situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when somebody disrespects you at the beginning, that's a potential person to be changed. Maybe that's maybe a sign, but maybe he just needs time. And what you have to do is really focus on your work and show them that you are able. So, for example, in sales, always when I started, and there was a budget like, let's say, $1 million, a year of purely new revenue. I put 1/3 of it on my shoulders to show them that I am with them and that I am able to deliver results as them. So I was also working, even I was managing people, I was selling like a sales guy. And you give them support, you give them feedback, and you respect them, you treat them really well. And you do it for a certain time, and then you will see. Some guys may have to leave. Some guys may leave on their own, and the good guys will stay. Did I answer enough, or?
I would say so. But my situation was it was like in the past when I used to work for somebody.
Okay.
And the situation was actually that I became a manager like during my work, and I used to work in retail. So basically, as I was selling, they knew I was doing well, and that's why I got promoted. So they basically knew. So it wasn't about respect. It was more like they knew I was, but they thought like she's a like nice person. She's not gonna press us. Maybe we can
Okay.
or something like that.
I got it. So maybe I will amend a bit. You have to be nice as a manager. You always have to be nice, respect the people, talk in a nice way. But you also have to be very strict in what you want. So, and you start slowly. So let's say you want a report every Friday. Yeah. If they forget, you may say, okay, this may happen. But if it happens twice, you already have to explain more exactly, and say, if this happens again, we will have to stay here, I don't know, till 5 in Friday and go through it together. But all these things like reports and stuff like that, I usually at the beginning I tell to the team, we are not kids, so these things we will not spend time about these things because we are not kids. So reports have to be done, but you have to explain why. So you can never say, I need the report because you will give me the report because I told you that. Or even worse, if you say, it's not my fault, but my manager wants it from me, so you will lose respect at that time. But when you say, no, we are a company, there's a reason for that, it is actually good feedback even for you when you have the report. So let's not spend time with such bullshit, and let's focus on strategy and what's really important. They will respect it, I guess. It's difficult, but it's important to treat everybody, let's say, fair, but also every person needs something a bit different. So and you have to know it. So somebody will need more support, more reminding. Somebody will need more freedom. Somebody will need praising more than that. It depends on the people. It's really difficult, but to be nice and also very strict in what you want. Because when they see that you are valid, you tolerate everything, they will try. There are people that have no, and this guy that I mentioned, he had no border. So there are really people that will do everything what you let them to do. And also it's important, usually it's caused by one person in the team, and even the other guys are good, it will spread like a virus to other people. So you have to eliminate this person, and in this, patience doesn't pay off. So if you realize this guy has to leave, you make it faster. Okay. So let's not stay in negative things. Observing behaviors. I decided that I will stay in corporations as long as I learn something. And I did not only attend meetings, I always wrote remarks, and I was trying to understand what happens, why this manager behaves like this. And I will give you one example. We had a boss, he was general manager for CEE region, so there were five countries involved. And he was from Greece. He always was, for every meeting he was late. When you saw his table, it was full of papers, you know. It was disaster, but he was really respected. And he had some strange habits. For example, when we had some meeting, he did not come. But suddenly, after 2 hours of 4 hours meeting, he jumped in and he said, okay, so what's the decision? And we said, we decided this. And he said, okay, but what if it doesn't work? And he tried to destroy this decision. And, you know, me or someone else set the arguments, what's behind the decision. And he said, okay, go for it. And he left. And I realized this, it felt strange. So one day I came to him and said, you know, Stavros, why are you doing this? You are doing this on purpose. I know it, but explain it to me. And he said, you know, yes, I'm doing it on purpose. Even I agree with you, I will always challenge it because I need to know that you are doing this, you decided this way for right reasons. Because some decisions, if they are made on bad reasons, in long term, they may be really, really dangerous. So this approach, even it's a bit like a social, not social, you know, looks strange. It really worked. So he didn't have to attend the meetings because when he did this process, which is very easy, he always knew that we decided the right way. Write everything. Yeah. So first, when I don't know if you follow Richard Branson, but one of his very, very regular quote is write everything down. So even such thing that I just told you, I write it down. When I speak with someone and it doesn't go smooth, I write it down. I really write everything down because that's the way how you improve yourself. And here I'm coming to this entrepreneur mindset. So I spent 10 years in corporations, and like 3 years ago, I realized that this is not my path for the future. I don't want to go on this career ladder. And actually, my former boss, he was one of the guys, this guy from Argentina, he was the one who told me, and I was even in testing period. I was starting in the company, and he said, you know, you would fit more into entrepreneurship than into corporation, because I was never politically correct, and I was always shouting when I didn't like something, so I was not popular to many colleagues. But you know, I have family, mortgage, all these modern things, and I thought, okay, when is the moment that I can really go full time in my own business? And I would say that this was really, really very, very difficult. But then I realized that actually environment is very important. So when you spend time among people who don't want to be entrepreneurs, and now don't take me wrong, I don't think that employees are bad. Employees, they are very good, and they can have entrepreneur mindset. But some things that I realized is that, for example, they like to have everything lined. So I want to know my target, and I will do it. They don't want to have much responsibility, deciding responsibility. And they like the meetings, you know, all these boring meetings. When usually, what I remember, usually we spoke about why something cannot be done. And this is what I really didn't like. The reason behind this that all these corporations are very successful companies who did something that really worked for many years. Yeah, something in the same way. So why would they change it? They are afraid to change too much because they may lose the success that they have. So if you are in this environment, you cannot build a business. So I started to meet with entrepreneurs here's Impact Hub. I don't know if you know this cowork, and to know these guys and talk with them. And I realized that I'm starting to change my mindset. And I spent 2 years thinking about doing the business. I did some small customers concurrently, but as long as I was in this environment and I was just thinking about that, it didn't go anywhere. So one day I decided I will give back my keys from this luxury company car, my salary, and I'm going to do it. I give myself 10 months. I had 10 months how we call it, pillow or reserve. Yeah, yeah, savings, exactly. And if I don't succeed, I don't know what will happen. And at that moment when I really got into it, and one of my friends, he's a fitness trainer, he was one of last incentives I had. He said, you know, you will find out what to do only when you start doing that. And I also read a book about, I don't know if you know Karel Janeček, the investor. He likes jumping from planes, parachuting. And in his book, he wrote one story that he just stood at the door of the plane and going to jump. And he said to his fellow, he said, hey, I forgot everything. I don't know what to do. And he said, you know what, jump. And he jumped. And then he knew what to do. He didn't die. So this really works. When you want to do something, just start doing it, and you will figure out when you're in the position. So now it's maybe to my business, to what I do. With all this experience and mentoring and accelerating, I realized there is a scheme, and because I'm the sales guy, sales has to do with everything in the company, as I told before. But what needs to be really clear is the vision of a company. And when I start with my clients, the first thing that I ask them is, what is the vision of your company? Why are you doing that? There are 3 good sources where to learn about it. This book by Michael Gerber, maybe you know Simon Sinek. You don't have to read the book, because when you see his talks, it is quite clear. And Arnold, I don't know if Arnold is still actual for your generation, but for me he influenced me a lot. Then I realized that those movies are rather funny than entertaining. But then I realized that what's Arnold really good at is his stance to vision, and how he describes how vision helped him to reach everything. So vision is really very important. And I can tell you that I work even with companies, 15 years old companies, and they have no vision. They have a product, or they start doing something to earn money, and then they wonder that they don't succeed, or they are in red numbers. So vision is really connected with everything. If you want to market a product, how you describe it? If you say, this has 3 functions, batteries, whatever, nobody will care. But if you say, I will change the way of how people present, that's something that sounds clear. If you consider Bill Gates, he didn't sell computers like saying, it's got this functionality, it's so fast. He said, I want a personal computer on everybody's table. That's a vision, because what it says, it will be cheap, because everybody will be able to pay for it. It will be small. It will be not in the whole room, because there's a capacity of the house. So that's how you define vision, and you have to have really strong vision. You also have to solve big problem. And I borrowed this from one guy from India who spoke. I saw a YouTube video from a conference, and he said that you have to have your joker. Many startups fail because they are solving small problems, and also companies. You have to find a problem that is really huge, and when you solve this problem, that whole society will be changed, or a lot of things will be changed. I don't know what example I could tell you here, but imagine that there are 120,000 startups that close every day, and worldwide. It's huge. Of course, it's the question is what is startup, because startup could be every one of you who creates a website and says I'm doing business. It's also startup. But really remember this, because this causes 42% of fails are because there is no market need. Yeah. I have an Instagram with quotes. It's just a test. I'm just testing Instagram. I'm not a fan of it. But one of the most favorite quote that I put there is that nobody needs a mobile app for wiping your ass. Target market. It's very, very important. If you want to play on the playground, you have to know where is the playground and how big it is. Otherwise, how could you play? And again, this is something that really many companies don't know, and it causes a lot of problems and fails. I wouldn't maybe go into details right now. It's so much. I have a YouTube channel, so you can see some videos about it. It's in Czech, sorry, but if you want subtitles, I will create them. And then you have to know what's your competition. The only thing I want to say about benchmark is this. Most repeated failure is that when companies do benchmark, they create, let's say, they create a table. And they say, okay, so this is my competitor. I'm better in this. This is my competitor. Yeah, he's got ugly websites. And this is my competitor, but I am better. And that's it. That's really, really wrong. What you should do is consider all your competition as they are at least so good as you are, or rather that they are much better than you. Because, again, this mindset will help you to really create great product, great services, and really put as much effort as you can into the business if you do it this way. And specialize, again, when as example could be consulting. On Czech market or even worldwide, there are many consulting companies who can help you with management, leadership, sales, HR, whatever. But you want to. When I want a consultant, I want someone who really is specialized in a niche, niche. Yeah. So when you specialize, you grow like this. You will be very thin, but you will grow. When you spread, when you want to be wide and do everything, you will maybe grow like this, but it will be very easy for everyone to you'll be like a cake, like a pizza, and everybody can step on you. It's very easy. But when you will grow tall, from certain level, nobody will be able to catch up with you, and then it's much easier to widen. So you need to consider this. This I created. This is, let's say, time and effort, and this is success. Many times what happens is that a startup creates a product, they put a lot of money and effort in it, and then they think, okay, now we have so great product that it will sell itself. It's here. And it really looks that you are close to the success. And this is valid not only for business, but also for sports. Because you're, 19%, it's just 10% to the success. But in time and effort, you are here. And what's interesting that usually when you tell to the startup you are not here, you are here, some of them appreciate that and start to work, but a lot of them say, you're not right, and then they fail because they never make a progress. Sales funnel, it's just, I don't want to go into details, but I heard that you have homework about sales funnel, something like that. Is it right? So maybe we can go into details later. This graph, this is from Chad Holmes's book. This is a result of 20 years research in America of the market, and this is valid almost to every product. What you have to realize is that there are only 3% of customers who want your product. Only 3%. Then there is 7% who are open to it, but that's all. So they are not going to buy if they see you. And then the rest, this 90%, they are not thinking about it. It's just, you can still do something about that. But 30%, they don't think they are interested, and 30% they know they are not interested. I'm not showing this for you to start making any analysis, but this is rather for really reminding it that this is really how it works. And when you start a business, your first task is to find these people. Because if you start here to acquire such client, you will have to educate him. You will have to write articles. You will spend a lot of time with him, and it's very unsure if you will close the deal. You need to find these guys. So this is Usually when I work with startups, we try to define how these people look like. If you don't want to sell, don't even try to start a business. That's what I tell to founders. Many founders of startups, they are IT guys, they are technical guys. And they say, you know, I don't like to cold call people and sell. You know, I'm not going to do it. And I always tell them, okay, if you hire a sales guy, what will you ask him? How you would know how your customer behaves, what's the sales process? How would you know? You have to, at least for a few months, you have to sell it by yourself. To know the customer, to know how it goes. And if they say, no, I'm not going to do this, it's not this, I tell them, sorry, but it's actually consider this as a test, and you know, I don't know, God or whoever will test you how serious you are with your business. If you are, you will sell, even if you don't like it, because this is everything in sales is learnable. Yeah, you can learn it. This is from book Angel by Jason Calacanis. It's an angel investor from USA. And Tomáš Baťa is also a very similar quote. When you want to build a business, first you have to build yourself. So investors, they don't pick billion-dollar companies, but founders. So what is really nice on sales, business, and entrepreneurship is that you have to build yourself. That's the way. So, except sales, and now maybe is a question if we have 1 hour now or 50 minutes. Now I have a few more slides, so we may finish them, or we can go into sales and your homework. What do you think? Or your questions? Should I continue? Okay. So, how systems work? When you look back to your life, probably you will find things that were I don't know if it's the right word. Contingency, is it the right word? Coincidence. Who is from US? Correct me. A contingency, is it the right word?
For what?
Like coincidence, like if something happens coincidentally.
Yeah, have a contingency. Yeah.
So contingency is it right? Okay, so it's wrong word. So it should be coincidence. Okay, so it's coincidence. I don't know. You some of you have partners. How did you meet? Was it like, did you choose someone and run after him, or was it a coincidence? There is a coincidence, or you know, weather, or all these things, and. Coincidence is something that you probably cannot affect much, but what you can do is you can learn how to benefit from it. And I will show you on one example. This is from I don't know. Did someone from you read something from Nicholas Taleb? Yeah, you did. Black Swan, perfect. This is from Anti-Fragile, but it's similar. So this guy, he's a former stockbroker, and now he's rather a writer. And his books are really interesting because he really spends a lot of time thinking and studying coincidence and all these things. And I took one example from the book. These are brothers, John and George. They live in London. They have very good childhood. They were raised the same way. They live even now in the same environment. One of them is a banker. It's John. And George is taxi driver. And John, he's got very good salary, very good position. He feels he's like safe. He earns a lot of money, and he really feels safe. In contrary, George, as a taxi driver, he's got a really hard job. You know, one day is good, one day is worse, and he doesn't feel much safe. Yeah, because this is very unsafe environment. But you know, when you look at it from a farther perspective, you realize that John, even he's got a very stable position. What may happen if there is financial crisis? It may happen that he will be fired. And this stressor, let's call it, crisis is a stressor. When this happens, he will be lost. He will not know what to do because he works there for, 10 years. And he knows nothing else than working in a bank. So it's actually very unstable, even when he feels stable. When here a coincidence happens, he will, in 2-3 days, maybe 1 week, he will change his approach and he will just continue. So even George doesn't feel safe. His work is actually much more stable because he's used to this sort of instability, and he is used to react on that. So he will always do something to react on this stressor. And this book is from Taleb. All these books, also Black Swan, they are full of such examples, and it's really interesting. When you read that, you will probably not figure out something right now, but when you really keep reading that and thinking about that, and after a certain time you will realize that you feel the world and everything what happens, you approach it differently, and you can really benefit from it when you understand all these things. It's really important for business. How brain works. I told you my experience with my brain, so I also started to study brain. Let me give you this example. There is a baseball bat and a ball. Together, it costs $1.10. And the baseball bat is $1 more expensive than the ball. How expensive is the ball? Shout at me. 10 cents? 5 cents. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so the first was wrong, you are right. You know it or? You know it? Okay. You shouldn't say it. But whatever. Who else thought it's 10 cents? Yeah, okay. Let me just dissect this process. We have, and this is from book by Kahneman, Fast and Slow Thinking. And the basic thought is that we have lazy brain who reacts very fast. And then we have rational brain who is slower but really thinks it through. And of course, 10 cents is wrong because if it's 10 cents, then the baseball bat would be $1.10, and together it will be $1.20. Yeah. So what I wanted to show you is that when there is easy answer at hand, we go for it. And when you translate this to business, managers can do very very bad decisions if they don't know this. So if you know how your brain works, you can really change a lot of things in your life and in your business. Energy flow and time. The only thing I would say that some time ago I found a video on YouTube about killing time, and the message was if you kill time, you kill yourself, something like that. And I really liked it, so I started to listen to this every morning. And after 6 months of doing this, I realized that I use my time completely different. So the message is that if you allow so little things like this, like a video, a quote, or anything, if you allow it to help you, you can really change a lot. Social media risk. I was not born with a cell phone in my hand. You probably also not, but you spend you will spend a longer time of your life with it. What's the risk that? And I see it in businesses, that when businesses they have good Facebook pages, a lot of followers and likes, they feel they are successful. But only thing that counts is revenue. And another risk is psychological. That when you watch the wall of other people, everybody will put only the best moments of his life. When you watch it continuously, you will start feeling that your life is horrible because you see only the best things of other people's lives. So there is big risk, but I study social media from 2 reasons. One is business, it can really help you. And when you have something valuable to say, this is really the way how you can spread your thought. But there is also a risk. Now, this Zuckerberg's thing and all these things. I don't know what will follow. So the conclusion is this: entertainment is very. There is a lot of money in entertainment because people like to consume. We are a consume society. We like to consume and spend our time in a nice way. When I remember, like 10 years ago, on Friday, I would only think how to spend my Friday and Saturday and stuff like that. And what is really entrepreneur's mindset is that you start not consuming but producing and investing instead of spending. And after a certain time, you will realize that actually you can have the same level of joy from it, and even much more. And one of our Czech actors, I don't know if you know him, but Jaroslav Dušek, you know him. He said it's like when you drink coffee with a sugar, and then you decide to put out the sugar because you know that it's not healthy, and it doesn't taste good. But after a year of doing this, you will realize that there's nothing better than coffee without sugar. So it's the same process with everything else in life. And, I have a tiger, like Sylvester Stallone says, but this picture, I didn't find a nice picture of tiger. So, to me, I like this picture because these eyes are really, he knows what he's going to do. He's probably going to eat somebody, but when you look at entrepreneurs, they are very different you see something different in their eyes. They really know what they're up to. And that's also one part of how to earn respect, is that you really know, if you know what to do, people will respect you. Some study materials, these are books that I like, and here I'd like to thank you for your attention, and now if you have any questions, I'm very much excited to answer that. Thanks. You said that there will be a lot of questions, So, yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see, like that you have seen in like a startup business, and how would you, as a young entrepreneur, how would you give us advice to overcome those challenges?
I think the most important thing is to really start doing test the solution or the product as fast as possible. So, and this book is really very good. This is like a Bible for startups, and also this one. I will maybe use one example from this book. There were guys in America, and they thought it could be interesting to create an app where you have recipes for food, and when you choose what you want to eat, it will order the ingredients. And usually you find this solution when you have your own need. So they had their own need. But when you want to create an app, you need a lot of money. And then you need users and all of these things. It costs millions of dollars without any revenue. And they didn't have this money, and they had nothing to show to investors. But they wanted to try it. So they wrote an ad in a newspaper or internet. Telling that we have this solution, and we want someone who wants to test it. And a lady replied to them, and she said, "I would like it, so you can come to my house." So they came to her every day. They came to her house and asked her, "What you would like to eat today?" They wrote it, and then they went to shops and bought all these ingredients. And they were asking her, like, how do you like the way we ask you? And how do you like how fast it is? And all these things. And after a certain time, they asked her, would you pay us $10? And she said, of course, I would pay you even more. So this was a proof of concept. And it was incentive for them to do the next steps. So what's really important, really to not spend much time thinking how you could create a solution, but really try it as fast as possible. Because thinking about how the business would look like in 10 years, it's very pleasant. You imagine yourself like a rich man with the cars, and many startups spend a lot of time doing this. But it's just a cloud. It's nothing else. So really do it as fast as possible with the clients, with people. Did I answer? Yeah. Okay.
So if you could sort of start all over again, would you change anything?
Absolutely.
Would you change your
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. But it doesn't mean that that I regret something. This is my story. Everybody has a story, and I believe this had to happen because my thinking was probably very slow until I realized some things. But definitely, I would start my own business much sooner. I will not spend that much time in university. I studied really a long time, and I somehow felt that I should finish it. But I should have started at the time from 20 to 25. Yeah, I started late. So I would start earlier. I would read the books. I would party not that often, but much more intensive.
And do you think that everybody involved in business should have a background in sales?
No. I don't think so. What I'm saying is that it's really good experience. Yeah. And, if you're good in sales, all these skills that you need to be good in sales are very valid for doing business. So it's like, if there is a ship, all these insights. So then you just go above from insights to above, and you see the whole world is waiting for you, and you just need to learn some new things. But this background really helps you. There was yeah.
I have a question about being a sales manager versus being a good salesperson. And how did you recognize that transition in the sense of what did you learn from being a good sales manager to being a good salesperson? What are the differences? What advice that you give?
Yeah. So actually it was another coincidence because I went for interview for a key account manager position. And this lady told me, just by the way, we are also hiring sales manager. Would you be interested? And I said yes, because I would be interested. And I impressed them somehow. And I just learned. I read 2 pages about management, and I got not homework but a test. They told me this is the situation, and what would you say to your sales rep if you're a sales manager? And I wrote remarks, just ask like this on the whole paper, and I just asked questions because I read it in a book, and it worked. But the difference is when you're a sales rep, you're just responsible for numbers, and you are quite free. If your manager is good, he should give you a lot of freedom, because every sales guy has different style and way how to do it. So we have a lot of freedom, but you are responsible only for yourself, and it has lots of things to do with performance. So you are a good performer. When you're a sales manager, this performance may help you, but you mainly need to be how to say it, empathic. Empathy is, I think, the most important thing. You really need to be able to read people, to feel with them, to be able to recognize who needs what. And it's a bunch of different skills, and it's really lifelong learning. And you should want to lead people. There are people that don't want to be responsible for others. So you should really have this but the feeling shouldn't be I want to direct people and be their boss. It should be something else. My way of leading people, if I would say it in one sentence, is I like junior people, and I just help them to grow. And if you do it, you are leading them. And if you give them responsibility, and if you are able to, I call it calculated risk. So let me give you an example. When there is a task ahead of your sales guy, you can do 2 things. You can tell him how to solve it, or you can give him freedom to solve it. And if he makes mistake, but this mistake will not cause a big problem, you should do it, because even he made a mistake, he would learn so much for the future that you actually invested in him, and he will grow, and he will then, if you do it this way, then he will follow you everywhere. Okay?
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Just my name. I have this slide here. Just type this there. But most of the videos are in Czech, so yeah, okay. If you have any question, if you would have, I don't know, today evening any question on my website, you just type it here, and I will answer to anything. Because for me, questions are also it's great material how to present yourself. You know, yeah. Sorry.
I just had. Have you done any work in the United States as far as BB sales?
No, not me, but my father. He worked there for his whole life.
I was just going to ask you if you if you knew any like major differences between European.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. Yeah. Because I read a lot of read a lot of American sales books, because there are not many Czech sales books on the market which would be good. But I had this discussion 3 weeks ago, because there were a few guys from Silicon Valley here, and we spoke a lot about sales. And you know, the major difference is that Americans, you are networkers. You are natural born networkers, very social, and you also smile a lot. You know, that's how we feel you as the difference. And this is very good character for selling. So what even you as Americans say, we can sell everything. But you know, one of the when I read these books, for example, of call scripts, I cannot use it here, because if you would use these call scripts here, everybody will say like, go to hell. I'm not interested. So I think in America there are much more sales discussions, because people are more open to communicate. They understand that talking to each other really can create value, which is good. And yesterday somebody told me that they would really tell you, I like your solution. But as I described here, at the end they will not close the contract with you. So there are much more open discussion, but much less closed deals. In Czech Republic, you will probably, from very beginning, you will experience, when you're a sales guy, you will experience these firewalls that they don't want to talk with you and stuff like that. So it's much harder to get into this discussion. But when you are in the discussion, then I think it's a higher probability to close the contract, to close the deal. Yeah. But another important difference, and that's also why I do what I do, for example, this YouTube channel, is that Czech people and Czech and Slovak entrepreneurs, they don't consider sales so important. So that's why they don't have so much success in businesses, some of them. Yeah. So, you know, this is what we can really learn from America. We just have to adjust some of these things. But in general, all these things are very, very good for, it works. And in generally, I think sales is very similar everywhere. There are, you know, cultural differences. So, for example, it was a very interesting class in university. We had these cultural differences. When you go to do sales in Japan, and they smile at you, it means that, you know, it's done, we're finished. So you have to know these differences and experience them. Yeah, is it okay?
Yes, great. Thank you.
What do you see wrong in the world today? What do you see?
You should ask maybe Donald Trump, not me.
And I mean, alternatively, what do you see as a good thing for us growing up today?
Mm-hmm. Wow, what a question.
I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're always like,
Yeah.
what could be.
I think that there are two things, and actually these two things are also I built my business on these two things: leadership and system, processes. So, when we talk about system and processes, right now, when you see who's in government in US or in Czech Republic, you can see that there's something wrong with the system. If it's possible that something like that happens, that people like the people that are there, that can get there, yeah. So it's the system of how it's voting, how complicated it's with offices, with taxes, with everything. So that's one challenge. And another is leadership. So we really need leaders in the world. The true leaders, the positive leaders. So the guys who don't only want a lot of money, but they want to do something really, really helpful. And money are just the byproduct. That's my opinion, but I need to study a lot to know more. But I think it's even for entrepreneurs, it's really good to study all these things. Because I believe that entrepreneurs they can make a change in the world. Yeah. But thanks for the questions, interesting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. So we have 30 minutes, so we can even do this homework stuff. Would be nice.
So I'll tell you about the final, because part of you are here just for the lecture.